Ready? Thank God for the victory. East Carolina hung around long enough to make a run and get themselves back in the game. It was a run right after halftime. We had discussed what we needed to do going back out, and unfortunately we didn't have the energy or the effort. Turned the ball over. They got out on fast breaks, got back into the game, and happy that we got out of here with a victory. Every game is not going to be a blowout. I wish it would have kept going the way that it was going. But to win this game is all you have to do just to stay undefeated in the conference.
Penny, I know when we talked at the half, you weren't happy with the run that you guys gave up in the first half to let them kind of hang around. I can't imagine you're too happy with the second half performance. Tyrese said you guys came out lackadaisical. What do you think that boils down to?
I'm not sure because we saw the film at halftime and we saw where we needed to make the adjustments. Again, we practiced really hard. We didn't carry practice over into the game. No knock on East Carolina. These guys looking at East Carolina like we're going to win the game and didn't close the door. You got a group of guys or a group of young men that have never really won in their careers. Only one that's won that affected the game is Tyrese Hunter. So when we get into these type of games, these guys, instead of stepping on the pedal, they're just thinking, oh, it's just another game. It's not, because they're going to keep coming. And we have to do the same thing. So it was kind of disheartening to watch the effort in the first 5 minutes in the entire of the second half and the entire second half.
Penny, both times when it was a one-point game and then again when it was tied, PJ was the one who answered, I think once with the jumper, and then he got to the line a couple times. What is it about him that you trust him with the ball in those situations? And with both him and Tyrese kind of being alphas, how have they handled sharing that?
Yeah, it's easy to give him the basketball because I've seen him do it so many times. Last year at Tulsa and obviously this year with us, that I trust him for sure, that he's going to make the right play and knock down a tough shot. And he and Tyrese are like best friends, so they kind of work off of one another, which helps us because Tyrese doesn't get in the funk if PJ's going and vice versa.
Coach, you talked about East Carolina being able to hang around in this game. A lot of that came down to turning the ball over, them really junking up the game. How did that junking up the game allow them to kind of pull themselves back in it?
Well, they played zone the whole game. We knew what they were going to play. We saw them play zone the whole game against Temple. And we knew they were going to play zone. We knew exactly what to do. And we tried to drive some gaps that weren't there instead of passing the ball. And they got out on the fast break, and that's how they got back into the game.
As a secondary question, you brought in Dante Harris to kind of play that point guard at the top. His ability to pass through and probe that zone, how did that affect the game? And then also his defense on the other side. Yeah,
Dante did a great job tonight, being out for the ankle and the wrist. The wrist happened yesterday. To be able to come in and affect the game, and he still hadn't been here 3 weeks. Defensively, that's his gift. He's a great defensive player, and he's going to make things happen for us.
I know the assist to turnover ratio didn't end up where you wanted it to. It still had 17 assists, which is 3 shy of what you've talked about throughout the season. You want this team to get to 20 assists. Yep. The way that they were moving the ball in the first half, is that the best that you've seen them move the ball this season? And what's their ceiling when it comes to that?
Yeah, against Ole Miss as well, we did that. But, yeah, today's game, we went out and we knew they were going to play zone. We tried to create a trigger, which we call having 2 people guard you and get rid of the ball. In the first half, it worked to perfection. In the second half, we started trying to drive one-on-one and then move the ball as well. So, I'll take the 17 assists, and we just got to get rid of the 16 turnovers.
Speaking on the 16 turnovers, including 10 in the second half, am I correct to assume that the 17s in practice are here to stay?
Man, we're gonna stay hard nosed on them when it comes to that, because there's a price to pay for ball security. We don't want them to be so timid that they don't take chances, but it's just the unforced ones. So yeah, the 17s will stay around for sure.
Is that what you're contributing the giveaways to today? Just unforced errors, mental mistakes, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm seeing this every game now, where we just get so one more dribble when we should pick the ball up and pass it, and we work on it all the time. You got to understand, most of these young men were the focal point and the man on their teams, respective teams. So instead of making that one less dribble and passing the ball, they're going to take one more dribble and shoot on their old teams. We have to figure it out. We're winning ugly, and I'd rather win ugly than lose ugly, for sure.
Yeah, I got two quick ones. The first thing, based off what you just said about kind of seeing this every game, this is obviously a different team with a different vibe and different heart. But you said similar things last year when you guys would kind of escape with narrow wins in the AAC. In your words, how is this different? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is. The mindset, the coaching staff, everybody's different. I mean, this isn't like one game would send us in a tailspin because these guys really love each other and enjoy being around each other. So, again, they're so close that they're going to figure out a way to work through it. Last year's group wasn't really close at all. They didn't really know one another, didn't really try to get it bonded like that. Good guys, but this group is really close. That helps.
And you talked about kind of this past week about margin to victory mattering. Mm-hmm. Do you follow Ken Palm and Bartorovic and the net? Like, are you watching those things regularly?
I don't, but I obviously hear about it. I don't follow it, but I understand what it means because there are teams, that when they have guys down 20, they're trying to get it to 30 because of the net and the Ken Palm. So we don't understand that yet because we're still, again, trying to get to the level of winning as a team the right way.
Yes, Coach. Great win.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And let's talk about P.J. Haggerty, how he came clutch for you in the closing minutes.
Yeah, P.J. is, again, he's the focal point of the other team to try to stop him. He comes out every night and still figures it out. It's just weird watching it because you know it's going to happen at some point no matter what they're doing. And he continues to knock down big shot after big shot.
Got a two-parter. First part, other than the turnovers, what do you want to see improve over the next 5 games for your guards and your forwards? And second part, what do we mean for P.J. Haggard to be named the wooden watch list?
Yeah, I think what we have to do is really buy into guarding our yard and then hitting for the rebound. We give away too many offensive rebounds, and we know that. We work on it in practice. We go into the game understanding it, and we still give up offensive rebounds. The other thing that we stopped doing is defending the ball properly at some point, and then they start driving in the lanes. Then that opens up more offensive rebounding for the other team because we have to put 2 on the ball. So we just have to continue to work on it. And I don't know why PJ's name isn't in the wooden watch. It should be. Oh, it is? Okay, so I don't keep up with any of that. So what was the second part? Oh, what was it mean? Oh, it means a lot because that's putting Memphis on the map. That's putting us in a position that we're winning because you're not going to be on that watch if you're not winning. And we're winning and one of the top teams in the country. So that's all a good sign. Sorry, I didn't hear it.
Hey, you mentioned a second ago about how together the team is and how that kind of leads you to believe that this is not like last year. Mm-hmm. On a day like today, with last year's team, there would have been some finger pointing. There would have been some issues.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. That's what happened last year against South Florida. It was just too much of that in the huddles in the second half, and I don't know why, but it's like it happens amongst teams, but you have to still leave the huddle and go out there and correct it. We didn't leave the huddle and went out and go out there and correct it, and then they got hot, South Florida last year. This game was, we talked about it. It was so eerily similar to last year the same way, and it's crazy that it ended up coming down to a close game because that's what happened with South Florida last year.
Is there anybody who's if this team, this group of players, if they are starting to sort of splinter a little bit, is there anybody who's snapping their fingers and saying, "All right, we got to stay together now"?
I don't even think this team could get to that level as much as they're really close. So that's the beauty of being able to fix things because they want to fix things. They don't want to stay where they are. They'll be upset a little bit about this game, even though we got the victory, and they'll be ready to go because they're talking about it in the huddles. We just have to do it as a group and keep getting the 5 guys on the floor. They're going to be able to correct it.
You kind of hit on it a little bit. I know that the winter storm and the similarities were at least on your mind a little bit earlier in the week, at least. Yep. As they tie the game in the second half, has already thought, okay, a couple of days, first game after winter storm, here we go again, deja vu from USF last year.
Man, I just know how hard it is to win. And when you're expected to win, it's even harder, right? Especially with a brand new team. Even though we've beaten some really good teams this year, teams in our conference are just going to play above and beyond, and we got to know that. But I do worry because every game you're supposed to win, right? They're putting us as the favorite, and that just, as a coach, that's a ton of pressure. But that's what you want because you're labeled the big dog of the conference. But yeah, it flashed through my mind when it was tie game that here we go again. But we got guys that can finish the game, and that's the beauty of it. We got guys that can finish. Thank you.